Hey, good afternoon, and welcome back to Child Psychology Online. This is Patrick Smith. Welcome to week 3. This week we are talking about children, and we're talking about child psychology this week. Well, we talk about child psychology every week. Well, no. Particularly what we're looking at is birth, the area of birth, and the first few years of life, beginning of that unit. Um, I think really important to this is relationship between that developing baby and especially the mother, but the other people around. And I think this is the thing that with the psychology of children, we're interested in the psychology of children, that we don't just focus on where we are all the same, the generalities of human development, sizes and weights and stuff like that. That's important, but we go from that to understanding how is it that we become the people we are, which means it's really important to understand this question of who are the people who are surrounding us, and what is our relationship? How is our relationship developing? So last week I had you looking at that question of where do babies come from, and why this is particularly important is because this is the first time that we as people, as individuals, are going to be sort of the objects of other people's attention and care and concern. This question that I had y'all discussing last week is not an easy question, because this is the testimony of a woman who was the child of rape, the product of rape. So we look at this situation, and there are lots of people would feel lots of different ways. I want to encourage you, share what you think. I'm not sure that all of these questions have right and wrong. Certainly not correct and incorrect, but I do want you to really think about this. That this is a very phenomenal issue. What that means is it goes into explaining why people feel the way they do about themselves and about other people. And so we look into this situation of the circumstances that are inherent about a person's conception and birth. Courtney pointed out that children sort of naturally, or babies, especially, well, not so much babies, but children kind of inherently pick up on things that the parents say. So you can develop some guilt about their circumstances. But if we really know where babies come from, it's not the baby's fault. One of you had shared, I can't remember who it was, but I believe, well, I don't know who it was, but one of you shared something really interesting about that, being pregnant and not really wanting to be pregnant. Okay, so you separate from that the feelings you have about pregnancy. We separate the feelings about the child, and so looking at what Courtney said, these children naturally feel that guilt. I mean, Tanika, you made the point about it's very important to understand the way the mother feels. It's that as far as that would lead to the mother's treatment of the child. Kiara pointed out how it's not the child's fault at all. At all, it's not the child's fault. It's not like children are floating around out there waiting to zap you or something like that. But here they are. I think it might be also an important part of the question to see that people, the baby, the child, the people are separate from the circumstances. Okay, so you can have a perfectly fine person who's the product of rape. Okay, they may carry some of those characteristics genetically from the rapist, but they also are carrying the genetics of a person who cares about them or whatever. You see, so just because of the circumstances of your birth doesn't mean necessarily that we're locked into being like another person or acting a certain way. I guess that's the point. Kelsey, you pointed out how people are really individuals, and so to look at a situation like that. You can't just assume because somebody is conceived a certain way that they're going to be that way. So anyway, very, very good discussion. Thank you for tackling an issue that's not really an easy issue to tackle. Nicely done. And as we go into this next week, have a great week. Take care of yourselves, and keep thinking about children as people, and that's the way to understand their psychology.